Brother BNX and Young Kinda Done.
I said I'm finna go live.
Brother BNX and Young Kinda Done.
I'm finna go live, put my 9 to 5. Finna go home, boys, finna be a vibe. Finna be a vibe. They say take a leave, so I went and took a dive. I'm finna go live, put my 9 to 5. Finna go home, boys, finna be a vibe. Finna be a vibe. They say take a leap, so I went and took a dive. Dive to do for self on my own. Bossed up, got a car in a home, and I did it on my phone. I'ma show you how to get it strong. Get the bag and it don't take long, and you don't need a loan. You don't need a boss or a master. Get the right team and it's faster. This a new chapter. Gotta learn the business in the game. Every day new money, new change. Adapt to the lane. It ain't about the bread but the brain. Work hard, play hard, new fame. No more chains. No more chains. I'm finna go live, put my 9 to 5. Finna go home, boys, finna be a vibe. Finna be a vibe. They say take a leave, so I went and took a dive. I'm finna go live, put my 9 to 5. Finna go home, boys, finna be a vibe. Finna be a vibe. They say take a leap, so I went and took a dive.
I'm finna go live on IG. Sorry, but a 9 to 5 is not me. I'ma do myself until I die. You already know the vibe when I speak. Do not sleep, cuz the 20 months made 91K. What you doing 40 hours I can do in 1 day. With digital real estate that I own, all I need is Wi-Fi and my phone. Get into it, pursue it, I show you how to do it. You got a gift inside you, but you never knew it. Let me put you in the game, I've been a coach. Everything I do is dope, man, I'm finna go
live, put my 9 to 5. Finna go home, boys, finna be a vibe. Finna be a vibe. They say take a leave, so I went and took a dive. I'm finna go live, put my 9 to 5. Finna go home, boys, finna be a vibe. Finna be a vibe. They say take a leap, so I went and took a dive. Went and took a
Brother BNX and Young Kinda Done. Brother BNX and Young Kinda Done.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Merciful. I bear witness there is no God but Allah, who we believe came in the person of Master Father Muhammad. And we thank him for raising up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank those two for leaving in our midst the divine warner and guide, Messiah in our midst, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It's in their 3 names I would like to greet you all with the greeting words of peace. We say in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. Man, I hope all y'all done got your gifts open. Oh yeah, we know you've been opening up your gifts, and yeah, you ain't posted in 3 days because you didn't want nobody to see that Christmas tree. Nah, I'm just playing. But I hope y'all enjoy time with your family. I hope you enjoy time with your family. That's the time, you get to see your cousins and your aunties and your uncles who you ain't seen about 9-10 months. So it's a good time to be around your family and things of that nature. I hope y'all enjoyed yourselves. But today is December the 27th. So the new year is right around the corner. And that's a time where many people reset. Now, I know, you got your people who out there who's deep and you finna go into that ain't the real new year. And that's the, the Gregorian calendar. Listen, we just talking about, I'm talking about where we at right now, where we living right now, and just the typical people about to do your reset. People about to open up your gym membership. Okay, you finna open up your gym membership. New year, new me. It's 2024. You about to lose your weight. You finna start working out. Yeah, all that. I know you thinking about it right now. You been thinking about it. You been looking at it, $25 a month. Okay, you about to unsubscribe from the I know what you've been thinking about. But listen, so today, what I want to go into is this. Go ahead and start now. Because the habit that you're going to have to do that, you don't want to just do that cold turkey. Whatever we thinking about doing January 1st, go ahead and start it now so that we can acquire the habit. And whatever we're thinking about doing, fam, whatever we think about doing, I want you to put it on a vision board, not on a vision board as I'm finna cut out my magazine and put my car up there. I'm finna put a nice body up there. That's finna be me in 6 months. No, I'm talking about whatever it is that I have to do. I want you to visually draw it out step by step. What is it gonna have to take? What is it gonna take for me to get there? Because oftentimes what we do is we set goals and we have things that we want to accomplish, but we don't consider the steps and the habits and the micro things that we have to do it. And then we find ourselves being overwhelmed, or we don't realize that really to get to this nice body, what we don't realize really to get to this number in my business, really to get to X, Y, and Z is habits every single day. Or every other day, whatever you're gonna do. It's a small habit, because what I really want is only a byproduct. So if I can fall in love with the process, I can get to the product. If I can just fall in love with doing the process day after day after day, finding a routine, some type of system. And then when we're drawing out our system, what I want us to do is consider all of the things we have to do. Okay, I got meetings all day. How I'm going to work this thing in? So I have to find a system and do it, because what happens is whenever we think about these goals that we have, because we're not breaking it down in a way where we're considering all the things we have to do and we're putting together a systemized criteria, if things don't happen perfectly, we stop. Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, if things don't happen perfectly, we stop. Okay, I said I was going to have this amount of meetings, or something came up in my life and it kind of just, you know how we do, it threw me off. Well, if you have already considered your schedule, if you already considered the things that we have to do, then you was really already prepared for something to throw you off, and you had a plan. So much so in our study, guys, y'all know that the minister said that God, when he has a will, he considers and thinks about the move of Satan. And so that when Satan or the devil makes his move, it only brings about and furthers the fruition of his will. So he's considering opposition. How can we take that as a principle? We should consider things are going to go wrong. We should consider things are going to come up. Somebody going to die in the family. Something going to happen with my job. Man, something going to happen in my inner circle family. Man, I'm going to get in an argument. Man, I'm going to get depressed. Man, I'm going to get sad. I have to be able to accomplish this in spite of. Right? And if I just focus on putting together a system to make this happen every day, I'm going to eventually gain weight, or whatever your goal is, gain weight, lose weight, make money, save money, build this, build that. So I just wanted to kind of start off with that today, because I know New Year's is around the corner. But I want you to really think about, man, creating a habit, a system, and some type of routine for yourself. It's not easy. It's not no overnight process, but create something like that so that you don't stop. Because you're going to be very passionate. You're going to be excited. You're going to go to the gym. You're going to do this. You're going to, you're going to start eating better. What else we stopped doing during New Year's? We're going to start focusing on the right type of friends. All the type of stuff we're going to come up with that we want to do. Life is going to challenge us. Struggle is going to challenge us. Life going to hit us. Your husband going to piss you off. Yeah. Oh, man, Your wife is going to piss you off, and you're going to be mad, and then you don't want to do nothing. Don't let that stop you, because then now you got around February, March, this is when everything starts to get canceled. Well, let me go ahead and cancel that. Now the whole year you say, I'm going to start back up in February. I'm going to start back up in April. I'm going to start back up in June. And what we do, we don't start back up in June. We don't start back up in January, because it's a habit that we have to acquire. So that's it. That's all I want to talk about today. This morning as the intro is just we talking about creative. We're going to hear about the creative force with Sister Dr. Ava. but let's control that creative force, because we gotta focus it. Right now, we looking at this podcast, reading this book, while we reading this book, while we looking at this podcast, and our mind is all over the place. And we think, oh man, I'm learning a lot. Man, I'm looking at this podcast. I went to this seminar. I went to this, I went to that. And your mind is you going in all type of direction versus you focusing that creative force on one thing. Let's build up this one thing. Let's get it up. Let's get it up. Let's get it up. See, we think balance is, well, I'm finna just juggle. No, you giving 10% here, 10% here, 5% here, 10% here. You got 1,000 tabs open. And we think we being productive because we doing a bunch of stuff, but that one thing that you got given 10% ain't really moving the way that it needs to move. That's like you being on a bench press. You got one arm, you got 245s on it, then you got another arm, and you trying to, no, bro, you gotta, man, give me this one, get up under here, this 45. You know how when you know how them brothers be, when they lifting something heavy, they gotta hype themselves up. Come on. They be barking and stuff in the gym. That's why I don't even go to the gym no more. Them boys be big. You can't get motivated by them big old swole, bro. And they under one bench. But they getting it up. See, it's best for you to just put that energy under one. Put that energy under one little thing. You get that 30 minutes of your time, all 30 minutes, boom. And you do something else, all 40 minutes that you got, boom, all 1 hour. That's real. The brain really don't do two things at one time. It really don't. Try to read something in silence. It was a video. It's like you got to try to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, without messing up. And then you got to try to read what's on the sign. You can't do it. It's hard to do. Your brain is designed is to one thing at a time. You're not really paying attention and texting. We doing both. We peripheral vision, but while you're reading the text, you focus on reading the text. You're not really looking at the road. You can see, okay, ain't nothing in front of me, but you're doing one at a time. You see what I'm saying? So that's how we have to be with our goals. You gotta sit here for 40 minutes and look at this without being distracted by your phone. You got to sit here and watch this and give it your all without being distracted by whatever the case may be is. It's hard to do. I ain't saying I mastered it, but I'm saying that's what we have to do to get to these different goals that we have, because the distractions is stopping us. And we think, my gift. I seen somebody say my gift not making room for me and all this. But if we analyze, okay, before I say my gift not making room for me, before I say, oh, God didn't bless me, before I say, oh, he didn't give me, he gave me the short side of the stick. Okay, well, let's analyze how have I played my cards? See, in spades, you may have a good hand, but then you may mess up the hand just because you ain't got the right strategy. It's not that you was dealt the wrong cards. You just had the wrong strategy and you played the wrong cards. Yeah, let me get out this for my wife. Be like, boy, you ain't that good at spades. I be, you know what they call it when you messing up with your partner? What you reneging? Yeah, all that type of stuff. I'm still learning, but I know that's a good analogy that some black folks may understand. You may have a good hand, your partner may have a cold hand, and they is messing up the game. It ain't that they got no bad hand. They ain't playing right. See? All right, let's go. Let's see. I just want to hype y'all up, man, because I know New Year's is coming and some of y'all are excited. But I just want y'all, we just got to stick to it. We just got to be consistent with it. And when you consistent with it, it'll pay off. Yeah, it'll pay off. Here we go.
Thank you. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. We thank him for raising in our midst the promised Messiah and predicted Christ, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We thank them both for our leader, teacher, and guide, the apostle and servant of Allah and His Christ, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And in those names, I greet my brothers and sisters in the words of peace in the original tongue of our fathers of Assalamu alaikum. I want to thank Brother Fontaine and Brother Shahid and all of the laborers and staff here at Mosque Mariam. Above all, I want to thank the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, my teacher as well as my leader, for giving me something of value to have to say to my people. It is a very delicate project to come before black people in 1993, because in coming before you, one always runs the risk of telling you things that you already know because of the high level of consciousness and awareness that is among our people today. And I must say, particularly that elect group of people who chooses to spend time engaged in listening to a word that is not generally accepted by the institutional base of white America. And nevertheless, there is something in you that causes you to seek after that word, even though in many instances you encounter opposition, just in the effort to come here and hear a lecture. Today's lecture is, hopefully by the will of Allah, going to comprise part one of a series entitled Your Creative Force. And of course, very important in that title is the word your, not generalities, but you as a specific, individually created person whom Allah gave a unique purpose during your time on this earth. Part one is entitled Beginnings. One of the 99 attributes of Allah is Creator. Creator. In fact, in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we find that the attribute Creator is first in the order of all the 99 attributes. He, Allah, God, is the Supreme One who brought all that is into being. He is the author of all that exists, and He is the maker of the laws which govern and sustain that which He has caused to come into being. Now, the word create, to cause to come into being something unique that would not naturally evolve, or that is not made by ordinary processes to cause to happen. In other words, beloved, in His attribute Creator, Allah has the capacity to bring about things that would not simply come by the passage of time. And this is the attribute that each of us possesses to some degree, that we are allowing to remain dormant. And all too frequently, as a people, we have a tendency to wait for things to come about and to hope that with the passage of time, deficiencies in the environment and in our lives will correct themselves. Now, that is true of some things, but it is not true of everything. The triple darkness that Allah created Himself out of was destined to remain as it was eternally. The life that you are and the life around us would not have evolved had it not been moved upon by a force. And that force is present today in you and I. And by force, of course, we mean strength, energy, power, and intensity. Now, to be creative, and I'm bringing this definition from the Psychic Encyclopedic Dictionary, which defines creative as pertaining to a non-thought, evolving through one's conscious mind, bringing a new idea from a higher source than that person's normal intellect could bring into being. Psychic information that comes through the superconscious mind directly from the originator. Creativity, then, is not something that you acquire in the traditional educational system. It is something that transcends scholastic or intellectual knowledge. It is something that comes as a result of you and I accessing our connection with the originator. Now, the question is, how do we actuate our creative power? And we want to start with our beginnings as an individual person. And we can't do that unless we're willing to probe our memories. Before I get into that, I want to read to you from the 32nd surah of the Holy Quran. That surah is entitled Al-Sajda, the Adoration, and it is taken from the 15th verse of itself, where the faithful are spoken of as falling down in adoration when divine messages are recited. And I just want to read a few verses. I want to start with verse 4 and read to verse 9. Allah is He who created the heavens and the earth and what is between them in 6 periods. And He is established on the throne of power. You have not besides Him an intercessor or guardian. Will you not then mind? He orders the affair from the heaven to the earth. Then it will ascend to Him in a day the measure of which is 1,000 years as you count. Such is the knower of the unseen and the seen, the mighty, the merciful, who made beautiful everything that He created. And He began the creation of man from dust. Then He made His progeny of an extract of worthless water. Then He made him complete and breathed into him of His Spirit and gave you ears and eyes and heart. Little is it that you give thanks. Now, let us think as individuals back to where we began on this plane of existence. Memory is a word that comes from a Greek term meaning to care for. All of our previous experiences are meant to be cared for. That is, beloved, use your past experiences, good and bad, to grow closer to God. Do not hide your experiences from yourself. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan says, life is recognition of God at the moment. This means that if you can recognize God right in this instant, you are alive, and regardless to what burdens you are carrying and what things you have done in life that you regret, God has seen fit to bring you to this moment and has favored you with the capability to recognize him. Meaning, you know he has complete power to give you what your heart desires. Now, behavioral scientists tell us it is easier to accept information that your parents learned than it is to learn new information. This is why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad encountered such incredible difficulty in moving the teachings that he received from Master Farad Muhammad, because it was easier for our people to accept pork in the diet, to follow the practice of observing Christmas and Easter, to be a servant to Caucasian people. Why? Because this was what their parents had done before them. What God has done in this generation, under the leadership of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, is break the genetic and generational bond to slavery. This is why the black youth is deemed not only by Caucasians but by old-minded Negroes to be hostile, incorrigible, and impossible to deal with, to the point that even old-minded Negroes call in the Caucasian armed forces in the person of local police to actually kill, maim, and imprison our own offspring, because they are no longer a reflection of what has been genetically programmed into a slave mentality, and that is the inclination to bow to people simply because their skin is white, and for no rational basis. All praise is due to Allah. When the Honorable Louis Farrakhan spoke to us Wednesday night, he talked about the new generation as a new life. And of course, when life is in its beginnings, it is not pleasant to observe. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan referred to a blood clot. And if you have ever seen one, it is by no means a pleasant sight. But its beauty is not in what it is. Its beauty is in what God has ordained that it is to become. These youth who are so ugly on the surface in their rebellion against the institutions that we have come to serve and worship are in fact ripe and ready to process new information that is being given to us by Almighty God Allah through the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. In 1987, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan began a series entitled How to Give Birth to a God. And in the process of teaching, he took us with him on a personal journey. And that is what I wish to impart to you today. The leader took a journey back into his mother's womb. He did it to resolve certain conflicts within himself. Now, certainly, having been instructed by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to follow this man, there are times when the instructions to follow the Honorable Louis Farrakhan aren't always just on the physical, but sometimes that is making reference to the metaphysical and the spiritual plane. The man that we see before us is certainly physically beautiful, intellectually brilliant, and an example of how to behave socially in civilization. But behind the physical example, he is also before us as an example of the path back to the origins of self to help us resolve internal conflicts that are preventing us from being the best that we can be. And certainly it's not a mandate that you privately embark on a journey to your mother's womb. However, when you read the Holy Quran and its constant references to our beginning as a sperm mixed with ovum, and then warns us to reflect and be mindful, then God gives us a man that tells us he underwent that experience, then certainly we might consider following the same path. And it's a very, very private matter. Study guide number 2 in the self-improvement course given to us by the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is entitled Building Human Potential. And of course, in order to build, you must have a foundation. Step 1 of that foundation is to accept the truth that each of us possesses the potential to be infinitely more powerful than we currently are. We know, beloved, we are nowhere near what we are capable of being. Jesus said, as a man thinketh, so is he. Now, are we really paying attention to that statement? Look at this again. As a man thinketh, so is he. We tend to interpret that statement to mean, as a man thinks he is, so is he. You see, we are not what we think we are. We are what we think. And the question is, do we really know what we are thinking? Do you follow what I'm saying? See, there's what we think we are, and then there's what we really are. Our perception of what we are thinking and what we actually are thinking is not necessarily the same. In fact, in all probability, it is not. From the moment of conception, and everybody in this room was conceived. Nobody floated in here. And I'll tell you something else. No one in here was picked up out of a garbage can. I don't care what the circumstances were surrounding your birth. You were planned, not necessarily by your mother and father, but you were planned by the originator. And that's all that counts. Now, from the moment of that conception, all the way through the 9 months until your physical birth, you developed, and I developed, through the most complex system of creative intelligence that exists in the entire universe. The sperm, regardless of the state of the individual that it comes forth from, is a divine force. The ovum, despite the current state of the individual in whom the ovum resides, is divine. And conception itself, regardless of the state of mind of the two persons involved, is completely filled with the presence of the Creator. Struggle is ordained, isn't it? And if you are a believer in God, whether you say I'm Christian, Muslim, Hebrew, I'm not any religion, I'm just spiritual, I don't need to tell you who ordained struggle, do I? Who ordained struggle? Don't be afraid. God, Allah, Jehovah ordained it. So if he ordained it, it has a good purpose. Struggle, or in Islam, jihad, is what produces power. Our weaknesses are a gift from God just as our strengths. For it is in overcoming weakness that we know and apply the creative force. At some point, beloved, if you are serious about growing to the complete fullness of divine power, and I believe that you are, otherwise you would not have come to hear the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the direction of Minister Louis Farrakhan. At some point, we all must confront our own physical beginning. Take comfort in the knowledge that rarely, if ever, is there a perfectly balanced harmony between the union of egg and sperm. Whatever the dynamics of each of our individual conception was, it is reverberating throughout our lives. It's affecting everything we do. Therefore, it is of immeasurable value to try and find out the circumstances surrounding your conception. Many of us don't even know what the circumstances were surrounding our conception. Where was your mother? How old was she? Who did she live with? What were her emotional feelings at the time? What was her financial condition? What was her belief? Where was your father? What was his thinking at the time? What type of pressures was he under? Emotional balance of each parent and their feelings about parenthood and their feelings toward one another affects us. And by the way, a growing fetus in the womb cannot distinguish the feelings that its mother has towards others from the feelings that she has towards it. Okay? Whatever mother is feeling while pregnant, the baby growing inside tends to take these feelings personally. When you are on this journey, some of you may find just attempting to locate the truth is painful. You may go to your mother. Well, what were you doing when you were having me? She doesn't even want to talk about it. But if she's not a good source, ask someone else who was around at the time. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan said his mother was very limited in what she had to say about the birth. He spoke with his uncle, who added and gave him some more information. You know, what a woman goes through, she may not want to discuss it. And we don't live in a society that really understands the sanctity of pregnancy and does not encourage the pregnant woman to be in touch with her feelings. Pregnancy is generally deemed something that is either socially acceptable or not acceptable at the moment. All anybody cares about is she married, does she have the money, and those are the only considerations. Not the idea that this is divinely ordained regardless of the immediate circumstances of those two individuals. I'm just saying, attempting to even find out what was going on when we were born might be painful, but knowledge is power. And to know the truth is to aid in the development of your own creative force. When you are with God, it is always good. God told Jeremiah, I knew you before you were in your mother's womb. So this means that your existence transcends the condition of your parents. See, God knew you. So if he knew you first, then you are not a result of their planning. You are a result of his planning. If they are happy about his plan, that's fine. But if they are not, all praise is due to Allah, because the only mind that counts is God's. And God desired for you to be here. Now, the first few, all praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. Let's go back now to the first few weeks of life. And I don't mean the first few weeks after you were physically delivered. The first few weeks after the egg and the sperm met. What were you experiencing then? That phase of our lives was probably quite pleasurable for the very thing I just stated. Because probably the only two who knew of you were the Creator and yourself. No one else really knew that you were there. And the conception and even the first initial journey down through the fallopian tubes was probably good. Just you and God. Even if you were an unwanted pregnancy, there was a point at the very initial stages of your life when you knew you were deeply, deeply desired. Because not only did the Creator want you, but look how many trillions of years He waited for you to come into existence. Because you were not just planned. He didn't just come up with an idea of you in those 9 months. You were planned at the very time He came into being Himself and decided that He wanted a universe filled with persons who were reflections of Himself. All the way back trillions and trillions of years ago, He desired you. However, there came a time when implantation took place. And you can go back into the lectures of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan on giving birth to a God, where he talks about implantation. This is when the fertilized egg makes contact with the uteral lining. Now, this is where problems might begin. Because this is when you first connect physically with mother. And if she does not want to be pregnant, this is your first trauma. Minister Farrakhan explained to us that the first attachment we experience as a fertilized egg clinging to the wall of the uterus is where our first need arises in life. The first thing we need ever is to be made secure. It's the most important thing to us in the world, is to feel a sense of security. Now, and lose touch with what is called a miscarriage. Or, even worse, are sucked out by what is called abortion. So no matter what your mother thought of you, she carried you to term. Even if she went and tried to get rid of you, ultimately she carried you to term. And she went to hell and back to deliver you. Whether she did it willingly or unwillingly, she served as an agent of the Creator and brought you here. Now, when we first go into this implantation phase, think back. What was it like for you? And you say, are you crazy, Sister Ava? I don't even know it. I don't even remember when I was 5. What are you talking about? You're tripping. But there is a part of you that remembers this very well in every minute detail. Going back to the definition of the word memory, to care for. Every experience you had is stored somewhere in the subconscious. And all I'm saying, if you want to go and get it, it's there for you. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan proved it. However, if you choose not to do this, that is also up to you. But I am just trying to open up some of the deeper aspects of the self-improvement course to show you self-improvement is not just grooming, but self-improvement is also the process of healing open wounds within our tissue cells that are affecting our happiness. Now, what were the conditions of your mother's womb? The white man likes to say uterus. And that's true, since that's what he assigned. But you know why he likes to use the word uterus instead of womb? Imagine a young black woman going into Cook County with menstrual cramps. And a white doctor says to her, I can end those problems for you, lady. All we have to do is remove the uterus. She's 19, 20 years old, never reads, watches BET all the time. Just a quick outpatient, it'll be done in a half an hour. Then not only will you be relieved of cramps, you can have a free sex life. You don't have to worry about anything. You're young, you should enjoy your life. You shouldn't be burdened with this type of suffering every month. Who needs it? I can eliminate that for you. And so he performs a hysterectomy. But if he said to this young girl, let me take your womb away, I don't care how so-called illiterate she is, now you're touching something in the divine essence of my womb. Jesus was born in the womb of Mary. See, all through the Bible and the Holy Quran, we talk about Abraham in the womb of his mother. We talk about Moses in the womb of his mother, Solomon and David and Jesus and Muhammad, all being carried in the womb of their mother. Not the uterus, the womb. All praise is due to Allah. The Quran says reverence what? The womb. Because it is the laboratory of the Creator where gods are produced. Now what if you go into this womb? As a new fertilized egg, you should be made welcome. That lining should be like a luxurious red velvet sofa that you can just stretch out and relax and lay on and start nourishing. Yeah, I'm going to be ready in about 9 months. Meantime, I'll just chill out a little bit. What if there's fibroids in that womb? Now you've got to find space. Some of us to this day have an inordinate need for space. And we don't know why we're like that. But whatever went on in there, you're affected by it. Some of us are born from wombs where there was an attempt to abort and we survived it. Not only once or twice, but 3 or 4 times. This means you are somebody strong, to use an understatement. See, you're born for war. You're born for revolution. You are determined to fulfill your destiny. You know, most of us know people who will never ask for directions. You know people like that? They would rather get lost and be late for the appointment than ask somebody for some direction. The Caucasian researchers say this might relate to a primal feeling of ambivalence in the fertilized egg about reaching its destination. What if your mother hid her pregnancy with girdles, resulting in feelings of constriction? She didn't realize the pain that it was causing you, or that because she was wearing tight clothing and holding her stomach in because she feared condemnation from a hypocritical society, because she was pregnant and didn't have a husband, or pregnant and didn't have the right financial condition. She didn't realize that because she acted like she wasn't pregnant, it made you feel like you didn't exist, that it took enormous energy for you to grow each cell, because instead of basking in the glory of her pregnancy, she hid it. I have observed, and I know you have too, relationships between women and children where the older child, or even as an adult child, the child, when he or she grows up, rejects the mother's efforts to demonstrate love and affection. And this leaves many women bewildered. They don't understand why this child They may say, well, I know I didn't want to be pregnant. I know I was a certain way during infancy, but I want to make up for it, you see. Now I want to do things, but the child is hostile and really doesn't want to establish the relationship. What all of us must consider, sisters, is that our reaction to the news of our pregnancy is a significant marker for the child's future self-esteem. From the fetal point of view, the new life point of view, it makes the new baby feel like someone who was invited to dinner, then when he arrives, he's asked to leave. What do I mean by that? Well, in the act that produced the child, the sexual intercourse, there is great ecstasy and joy. And it is an invitation to life. And in response to the joyous union of two people, life comes into being. Now life is present and it's rejected. So it is like being invited someplace and you get there and you're told, really don't want you here. Go back where you came from. Since it is natural to want to be a mother, and since we are placed here to reproduce, then negative feelings about a pregnancy are not really aimed at the child. It's really negative feelings, and I can't stress this enough, that society puts on the woman over certain obligations she feels have to be met in order for her to be pregnant. Sometimes she's upset because she's not married. Sometimes she's upset because she is married, but not happily. Sometimes it is not a financially good time. Sometimes she may have had too many pregnancies in a row. It could be all sorts of reasons. But the baby growing inside takes these feelings personally. And again, black youth are considered hostile. But when you have experienced rejection from the very beginning of life, how do you feel as an adult if you did not feel wanted as a young baby? Now, to drive this point home, and what I'm really saying today is this. In Islam, as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we celebrate life. At a time when the enemy is trying his best to limit our population and is encouraging the termination of life, and at the same time pushing us into conditions where new life is really extremely difficult for us. We have to look beyond society and make contact with the Creator and what the Creator wants. Now, if you are a woman and you have just discovered you are pregnant and everything in your life militates against the completion of this pregnancy, I say this to you. I say to you, study the life of Mary, the mother of Jesus. And I say to you, beloved, that the circumstances surrounding her pregnancy were terrible, and she suffered greatly. And whether you read about her in the Bible or the Holy Quran, and I would suggest you do both, you will see that Mary suffered from social condemnation and in fact had to flee from her home because under the laws of Islam, her pregnancy was a violation of the restrictive law because she was not married to the father. And had her pregnancy come to the attention of the officials, both of them, she and the father, Joseph, would have been executed. So the pregnancy and the birth were quite traumatic, and yet look who came as a result of that pregnancy, because it was carried to term. But I want to speak on something very real to the black community, and I really want to say this in an audience of men and women, because too often, brothers, you are so detached from the new life that you are producing that it denies you access to the most real source of power that you have. And that is your ability to give life and to bring human beings into the world that can change this environment into the way that it should be. That's where the real power is. And the enemy has been unsuccessful in stripping you of that power. It is not money, it is not political stature, it is the ability to produce a human being. I want to speak, and then I'm going to close, on Cesarean section. This is a very delicate topic, but it must be addressed. Do not take this topic personally, because what I'm going to say about it is not a judgment on the correctness of this procedure in an individual case. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because everything is different for every individual. However, we must enlighten our people to the consequences of this procedure and the frequency with which it is performed, as well as the motive of the medical profession in performing it so frequently. In 1960, 1 out of every 20 babies was born by cesarean section. Now, 1 out of every 4 is born by cesarean section. And remember, struggle is ordained. Birth is a powerful imprint. It is not just physical, it is spiritual. God designed the birth process for a reason. When that process is interfered with, it should be only after careful thought, and it should be justifiable. So often we hear the Honorable Louis Farrakhan compare labor and birth with death and resurrection. And you hear the women bear him witness, those who have become mothers. I have not become a mother as of yet. And if I never become one, I'm still going to tell you about this, because it is the truth. And I stress again, it is not to criticize any action anyone has taken or may have to take because of specific circumstances. But at the same time, I don't want you to just blindly do things because it is, quote, the thing to do, and, quote, everybody is doing it without any other information but that. A cesarean section, because I see some people like, what is it? Which proves my point that it needs to be discussed. There's the surgical removal, brothers, of the baby from the mother. It is where the doctor makes an incision and goes into the mother and takes the baby out. It sets up entirely different dynamics from the vaginal birth, where the baby is required to push its way into life in this world. A period of labor produces hormonal changes and physical stimuli that physiologically, psychologically, and emotionally prepare that baby's system to go from a water world to a land world. See, you have to understand the trauma. If you've ever been fishing and you snatch one of those fish out of that water, he is in panic sitting because you have removed him from an entirely different universe. We don't begin looking like we look now sitting in these chairs, sophisticated and attractive and beautiful. We start out as a fish swimming in a bag of water, a big round head with tail. We look like a tadpole. We're ugly when we start out. But we start out in a water world. We don't even know how to breathe air. when we are first born. So the God has set in place a process to make that transition called the birth canal. In the vaginal delivery, and I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. There's a whole list of these examples. The amniotic fluid is squeezed out of the baby's chest as she or he fights their way down through that birth canal. Now, if you snatch the child out of the stomach and don't allow that baby to fight that fight, then you're going to bring him out. He's still got all this fluid in his chest. Now you've got to do something called suction. You got to suck the fluid. This subjects the baby to a trauma that's not in the scheme of things. The child experiences a lack of oxygen from being lifted up above his blood supply. As a result, the doctors and the nurses, people, we don't even know these people. Who are these people? They snatch the baby away from the mother and say, we've got to keep her under observation for 24 hours. So in the very first moments of life, when it is critical that the baby be embraced by the woman that just suffered to bring that baby forth, that feels about that baby like no other person but God feels. And he's taken down a hallway somewhere, put in an incubator, actually a glass coffin. And for 24 hours, some white man, some white woman, some self-hating Negro is the overseer for this new life. This cannot be. And all praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Allah intended, beloved, for us to come here fighting, pushing our way out. The shape of the head is made in the birth canal. You are born to be a fighter, not for someone to break in. In study guide number 4, the struggle for balance, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan describes the little bird coming into existence. If I ask you the number one purpose of a bird, or the number one function that a bird is known for, what would you tell me it is? To fly. To fly. Well, before the bird can fly, God forces that bird to stand up as a prerequisite to qualify to fly. How can you be given the power? Don't you wish you could fly? That's awesome. To be able to just get up off the ground and leave. I got to call O'Hare, talk to some enemy at American Airlines, pay hundreds of dollars, go when they say go, hope they don't crash with me in it. But look at the bird. He can just get up. Well, he didn't just come out like that. He had to earn his way. He had to stand up. How did he get the power to stand up? Because when he's in that egg, nobody cracks the egg and opens the egg and snatches him out. He has to peck his way out of that egg. And as he pecks and pecks, he develops strength in his little bird legs. And by the time he comes out, he says, yeah, I'm a bird. I'm ready. I exist. Then he stands, and then he flaps, and then he's out of here. All praise is due to Allah. I heard the Honorable Louis Farrakhan say with sadness, he said, and he is a father and a grandfather. And he said of the birth of one of his grandchildren, he said, you know, my son followed the law of nature. And as a result of the law of nature, his wife gave birth. He said, what I don't understand is why does it cost thousands of dollars and hospitalization as a result of following natural law. You know, 100 years ago, you were not hospitalized. And again, please do not take this wrong. And don't take it to say, well, Sister Ava said we shouldn't go in the hospital, and because there are all sorts of complex factors that work into every individual case. This is not that. I'm really speaking of a state of mind we need to get in for the future. We've got all these little girls and all these young sons that know nothing about this. And they can be taught and trained in a way so that we can wean them off of dependence on the white man's institutions. That's what I'm talking about. I don't want you to get crazy and become a happy jack and run around snatching black women out the hospital and this type of thing. But I am telling you, brother, if a woman is carrying your child, I don't care if you are married or not, I don't care how you feel about her, you need to be present. When that child is born, there need to be friends there, people to supervise, people to check out what is going on. Even white people are ending up taking the wrong child home. You saw that TV movie, didn't you? Switched at birth. You know, they take the child out for a feeding and bring something else back. You really, and if you study the origins of the Caucasian race, that's how they came into being. Was the separation of the new baby from the mother, and something else was brought back. That's another story. But you can learn that by coming into the fold of the teaching. But my point is this. I am simply suggesting that, sister, you don't just let some doctor tell you, well, you've been in labor too long. How long is too long? Long is how long it takes. Every baby is different. But maybe this doctor has a golf game. All right? This is the truth. Now, this has happened. This has happened. As Allah's my witness. You know, they got something else they got to do. You've been in labor too long. Get that thing out of her so that I can go on to my next appointment. I've got a plane to catch. I'm on my way to Nassau, Bahamas for a vacation. This is the truth. Also, you have to understand this. The money in medicine is where? In what? I heard it. Surgery, right? Doctor doesn't make any money telling you go drink some black co-host tea and you'll be all right. He doesn't make money for that. He makes money with that knife. And that is why the first recommendation a black person is going to have made to them, whatever is ailing you, is to be cut up. That's what they're going to suggest to you. And I'm saying that the money in obstetrics is in the cesarean. That is why there was 1 out of 20 in 1960, and now there's 1 out of 4. And in an ailing economy, you are going to see even a more rapid increase. 100 years ago and more, we didn't consider pregnancy an illness where you have to be treated for it by a doctor. But once the enemy found a way to make a profit from that, he also supplied us with the reason we should be totally dependent upon him. I will say this on closing on that point. Where a cesarean is necessary, what you must do is take care in selecting your doctor. Because a baby born like that must be handled with much more awareness and sensitivity. Make sure that that baby's first touch experience, and if it involves having to suction that child, make sure it is done gently as a form of spiritual and emotional support to replace the loss of some of the wholeness and integrity and the coherence of sensations provided coming through the birth canal. In other words, you can make up through what you supply that child with in emotional support for what did not happen in the physical world. Our individual progress, beloved, depends on the intensity of our desire. We must accept that study guide number 3 tells us the difficulty factor. When we turn away from difficulty, we let trials extinguish the light of our desire. You want to be a doctor. As soon as you hear about how many years are involved, I change my mind. I don't want it. You want to speak the truth. But if it threatens a job or a paycheck, we're quiet. Some of us spend our time on earth living in a fantasy world of soap operas and romance novels, watching movies, fooling our brain into thinking we are having excellent adventures. Because the brain cannot distinguish between what you think you're doing and what you're really doing. So when you see Die Hard and you see Bruce Willis up on the screen and he's jamming and he's shooting terrorists and you're imagining that you're doing this, the brain actually thinks you did these things and it's satiated. Then it becomes sufficient to spend life as a couch potato, smoking marijuana and talking about how good life is. Some of us wait for the lottery number to come up. Or we play Wheel of Fortune from the couch, winning grand prizes every night, but never leaving the projects. This is the truth. This is us. There are many ways to suppress the creative force. That's the point. To keep desire from nourishing the will. There is only one way to reach our destiny, to fulfill the purpose for which we are created, and that is to struggle. Through deep humility, heartbreak, and tears, remember that every sorrow opens the doorway of progress. When we grow bitter in our trials, we are actually closing the door of opportunity. And he who receiveth all things with thankfulness shall be made glorious, and the things of this earth shall be added unto him, even an hundredfold, yea, more. Black people, we have suffered greatly at the hands of our enemies. Let us use that suffering to pay the price for our redemption. I call this series, and this has been part one, Your Creative Force, because the Creator gave every one of us a glorious individual pattern. No two people are identical, even identical twins. No two lives are exactly alike. Yet each life holds a great destiny, rich in achievement and honor. As we live according to the examples given by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, we can grow in greatness. No one and no thing can keep you from reaching your goal if you will submit to do the will of God. No one can live your life for you, for only you have the key to your fulfillment. Beloved, listen to the self-accusing spirit. Do as Master Farad Muhammad, to whom all holy praises are due forever, has told us to do. Accept your own and be yourself. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.
Man. What a lecture. I've never heard that lecture before. That might be one of my favorite lectures by her. Yeah, that might be one of my favorite lectures by her. Person number one, if you have something that you would like to share, man, she sure got me thinking about some stuff, boy. I had to chat GPT something real quick. I said, man, I never thought about it like that. Ooh-wee. I'm gonna read y'all what it said about me. Yeah, I think I done figured out. I think I done figured out why I am the way I am. I think she may have gave me a little revelation. Okay, let me see. Person number one, if you have something that you would like to share on the Facebook, on the on the Zoom side. For those who was asking, what's that lecture called? It's called Your Creative Force. It's called Your Creative Force. All right, let's start with our sister, Sister Shireen, go ahead. Going once. Sister Shireen. Going twice. All right, let's go to Sister Farah. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Y'all couldn't unmute yourselves. Let's go back to Sister Shireen. Try now.
Assalamu alaikum. I think Sister Randisha put a 1 first, though.
I didn't see that.
Oh, I saw it. But, assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I know my in vitro experience was traumatic because my father wanted me aborted. And I know that my mother's in vitro experience was traumatic because my grandfather was married when my grandmother conceived. And so it gets me thinking about the pathology. You know how in Yala Van Zandt talks about our pathologies and how we perpetuate these cycles of our experiences through our bloodline, and it's not necessarily, of course, a conscientious thing that we do, but on a subliminal level, there is a programming in us sometimes that tells us we have to go through this same experience. Now, on a metaphysical level, it might be for us to work out things that our ancestors didn't get worked out. But I know that a lot of things continued on, and even with my son's conception, it was a lot of trauma there. So yeah, this really does have me thinking. It has me being more compassionate, to people that I get frustrated with, because this stuff is so ingrained in us in terms of the fears that we have and the apprehension that we have, that we can actually achieve that which we can image in our minds. But some of us are so messed up that we can't even see something for ourselves that's bigger than what we're currently experiencing. So that's it. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Something that stood out to me, well, there was a lot that stood out to me, but when she started to talk about some of the effects of your birth, it made me think about Dianetics, because we're taught about how we're conscious even in the womb, and how some people have done the work of auditing and went back to the womb. But she made a point and said some people, or some of us, have an inordinate need for space and don't know why we're like that. And it said because of the womb. Then she says some people would never ask for directions. They'll rather be late. They say this may be related to a feeling of blank. I just put blank there because I didn't really know what that meant. About getting to their destination, and that was about abortion. Then she said, our reaction to the news of our pregnancy is a marker for the child's future self-esteem. And said it's like someone who was asked to come for dinner, then when arrived, asked to leave. And so I thought about my birth. I thought about my birth and me being born in prison. So I chat GPT I said, man, what's some of the effects? And it says social and emotional development issues. Children born in prison may struggle with forming healthy relationships, limited interaction with a diverse range of people, and a lack of normal socializing opportunities can lead to difficulties in understanding social cues and forming emotional bonds. That's crazy, right? Because I'm like that. And I naturally just say, well, you know, I'm an introvert. But maybe this is stemming from how I'm born. And in my mind, mentally, I'm like, I don't want to be like that. Like I can feel when I'm being cold. But it's like, I'm not trying to do it on purpose. And I know my wife probably can attest to this step one. I'm not going to read all of them because I just told her to give me a bunch of them. But that first one stood out because I've been like that since I was younger, though. People will see me in person and be like, man, he just so quiet. Like he don't, you know what I mean? But then I'm like, man, even reading this and hearing what Sister Ava, I'm wondering like, what is it? What was it about it that make me like that? But it also says, I read another one. Let me read one more. Another one that says, attachment issues, the unique circumstances of being born in prison can disrupt the normal process of forming secure attachments, particularly if the child is separated from their mother after a certain age. This can lead to issues with trust and relationship building in the future. Oh, I've been messed up from the beginning. Oh, God, dog. But he came to restore us. But now, look, so when I say from my standpoint, I never knew my biological mother like that. I recall seeing her one time, and you know, my father, my first time seeing him was in his casket. I used to wonder when I was younger, and maybe this is abandonment. I don't know what it was called, but I just recall the thought I used to have. The thought I used to have is, why didn't they want me? Why didn't they come back to get me? Not that I necessarily wanted them to, like my mama, you know, like she was the best mother I think in the world. I mean, the way that she loved me and sacrificed for me. But I did have the thought, man, damn, why did they ain't even call? They didn't check on me. I mean, they never, you know, hey, I'm your mother, you know, I'm just calling her. You know, I never, you know what I mean? So maybe now, you know what? Let me say this. Now, somebody got to help me figure this part out. Now, as I got older, I don't like when people do that. When certain people call me just to check on me, I actually don't like it. Well, some people. There's this one brother in particular, Brother Akbar. He's very short with it. He'll say, "Assalamu alaikum, Brother Ben, how's it going, soldier? All right, man, just call and check on you. Assalamu alaikum." And he'll hang up. Like that, I love that. Like, cause it's short and sweet. He ain't trying to give me no fluff. I love that. But some people, when they call me over and over again, it's like a weird feeling that I get. There was this one brother, and I feel bad about it. Found me on YouTube or whatever, and he would just call just to, I don't know, like just to check. But I kind of pushed him away. Like I stopped answering. Well, I was busy and stuff. But I also like it felt weird that somebody was checking on me. I don't know what that is. I don't know like what the psychological thing is. But yeah, man, I used to sit and wonder, man, and I'm like, dang, man, I wonder what my dad looked like. You know, I used to say, man, I wonder what did he sound? I don't know what he sound like. You know, I used to Google his name to see if any pictures would come up, if videos would come up. So I don't know what that has done, but I know, you know, I can be cold, I can be distant, I can be antisocial, and I know you probably look at me online and say, "Oh, not you. Oh man, you so got a person that." But in person, like I'm the one that's sitting off in the corner, just chilling, ain't saying nothing, ain't making myself known. So I don't know, man. Maybe that got something to do with that. But then another thing that I did connect as far as my entrepreneurship wise, I made this connection. I don't know if it's true or not, but I said, man, my mother, I'm sure she didn't like being confined. She didn't like being controlled, right? And she probably wanted to be free, I'm sure. And I have this one dream that I vividly remember when I was like 14 or so, 10, I don't know. But I had this dream about her. And in the dream, she said she was screaming and said, "They're trying to kill me." She overdosed on cocaine, I believe. So she, you know, she was doing drugs and all that, but I did know that much. But I remember in this dream, I was super young and I still remember it. She was saying, they trying to kill me. So I thought in my mind, when I was younger, man, I never liked doing something like a routine. Could that be that when prison they was taking her through a routine, you know, being controlled in prison, and she didn't like that, and maybe that's in me. I don't like routine. If we got to come to a meeting every day and we talking about the same thing, I don't like it. I'll fall asleep on a meeting. I'm not trying to do it, but it just happens. And in school, I never liked just going to school just to go to school. I like just being creative and being free and being, you know what I mean? So in entrepreneurship, I thought in my head, man, when I was younger, I used to always say, why am I going to school for 12 years to a place, getting up early in the morning where I don't want to go, just to get a degree and go live that same lifestyle by having a job? So I always wanted to have this freedom, and that's probably why I'm like an entrepreneur, because I want to create my own schedule. I want to be free. I don't want to be so systematic. So yeah, I need somebody to help me get my head together and tie all this stuff together and all this, because now, like, man, I probably know. And I know let me stop. I'm probably taking over the Zoom call. I'm gonna stay on long so everybody can get their feedback. Now I'm just rambling now. But I got 21 biological brothers and sisters. I don't know them all. So I kind of feel sometimes like I don't even really want to meet my family. Like, you know, I don't know if it's like this rebellion or something to where what I wanted I didn't get, so it's making me reject certain stuff. But like people like, oh, you know, you I don't know some of my uncles' names, I don't even know my grandmother name. I forgot my grandfather name. I never seen them. Like, it's crazy. And then my sister said something one time, man, that hit home. She said, man, we don't even know what running our family. If I went to the doctor right now and said, well, what runs in your family, bro? I have no idea. I don't know the illnesses we may have. I don't know what was, if you know, all that stuff. I don't know. It's kind of like I'm just out here. And my mother, who recently passed, she was the connection between my biological family and me. So it's like she was the one that would kind of remind, oh, that's your Aunt Gertrude. Like, I know some of the name, but I don't know what the face is. Oh, that's your Aunt Gertrude right there. That's your. So she was the connection, because my biological mother is her cousin. So she's the one that brought me to the family reunions and was telling me. But now that she gone, it's like, now I feel like, shoot, outside of my biological siblings and, you know, my cousins that I grew up with, it's, and my, you know, my aunties that I grew up, it's like, man, I'm kind of like out here on a whim. So yeah, I need some auditing, y'all. Somebody hit me up, somebody connect me with a plug, because I know it's something I be doing that relates and correlates with that, because I know that's how I am with just any relationship, not just marriage or whatever. Like, I just be cold, and sometimes I can be distant, and maybe that's coming from something, you know, from a past. So that's my little what's the name. So who's next? Man, I know I gotta scroll all the way up. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna go. So we got Sister Farrell. Let's go back. Try to unmute yourself now.
All right, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Excellent.
So what stood out to me was actually in the very beginning with brother E.T., where he said fear isn't real, it only exists in the mind. That remind me of something Sister Yasina was saying in a power call, I believe last week, where she was speaking on our state of mind and how it kind of shapes your reality. How the condition of our mind is our reality. How we can create a heaven for ourselves, or we can create a hell for ourselves. Heaven is a state of mind, a state of mental peace, while hell exists in the mind as well. We are suffering in the mind every day. And it takes overcoming that to create that heaven. That's why you have some people that have a lot of money but are not happy, because heaven isn't physical. You can have all the material things you could possibly need or want, but if you are not at peace in the mind, if you don't have quiet of mind, you can't have peace. You can't have peace if you are not in alignment with the path that Allah has created you to be on. You'll never be fulfilled in life until you have found your purpose and are found doing it. That's the only way. Scripture says your gift will make room for you. Not the white man's job will make room for you. It's a lot harder mentally and spiritually to work for someone who isn't aligned with your purpose or who you are than to just accept your own and be yourself. Whatever your purpose is, Allah created you to do it. So it should come as natural to you as breathing. We are taught, do for self or suffer the consequences. You suffer more spiritually and mentally when you are not fulfilling your purpose or in alignment with your purpose than when you are working for a good paying job that isn't aligned with your purpose. Something else that Coach Brother E.T. said was, you're not good enough to be someone else. It takes more energy to be someone else than your own self that you were created to be. That's all I had. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Somebody just DM me and said, you've learned to live and strive without many of the family members you never met. To meet them signals a major change, a change you may not be ready for yet. That's deep, man. Oh, that's deep. Ooh, boy. Yeah, I may not be ready for that, man. I might not be ready for it. Did I tell y'all? So look. I know this is kind of like this my soap opera day, but look. So I found one of my biological brothers and sisters one time, because I used to, because I know I got 21 biological brothers, and I probably got more. Now I keep saying, hell, I might got 30. I don't know. But anyways, I got 21 biological brothers and sisters. So I used to look on his death certificate and search the names just to see if I can find some of my siblings, right? Man, I end up finding one on Facebook. Now watch this now. This is deep. I end up finding one on Facebook. His name was Mace. I'm inboxing him, right? He's fine. He's learning more about me. I'm learning more because he stayed with our biological dad. We still ain't never met yet though. Actually, never mind, I ain't gonna tell that other part. Anyways, so yeah, that part just threw me off because I was never mind. So we talking, right? And he's finding out that I'm in the nation. He said, yeah, man, we used to do that thing called Ramadan, man, and had us starving. And I would just ask him questions. And then he saw something I posted. He was like, yeah, he said something about, white devil or something. Man, do y'all know? Because my dad, I think, was a pimp back in the day. You know what I mean? He, that's what they say. He was a, pimp or whatever. And, man, I think he was studying the teachings based on, he was calling it starving, but it sounded like they was doing Ramadan or at least practicing. He wasn't, I don't think he was registered at end, but based on what he was saying, he used to say white, call him the white devil. And we used to do this during Ramadan, during this time, Ramadan. And I'm like, wow. So my biological dad was obviously delving in or looking into it or, kind of starting to practice, which could be why when I came in, I didn't really have too many objections. I didn't really have too many. Well, I don't know about, man, when I came in, before, I already didn't like watching all white movies. I already didn't like watching white TV shows. It's not that I got nothing against them. It's just, I naturally already believed Majority of course, some other stuff I had to look into, but the majority of it, I didn't have no pushback. It felt natural to me. A lot of stuff that the majority, 99.9 stuff I was already thinking kind of. I was already feeling it. So I'm like, wow, could that be that I'm carrying on what he was looking into? Man, well, I was like, wow, that quick. What is the odds of that? I gotta find the message to show y'all exactly what he said. But when he said that, I said, man, dang, that's crazy. But yeah, go ahead. Let's go to the next person. I'm just throwing these things out there just in case there's a Jesus out there. They can hit me up and say, Brother Ben, I know what's wrong with you. Let me help you out. All right, let's go to Brother Daniel. Brother Daniel.
Yes, sir, great brother. I'm not that Jesus. um, give me a line. I'm trying to analyze self. The brother opened up with something that stuck with me. He said, most of us, and I'm paraphrasing, can't outlast the us that we fighting with. Like, man, that brother hit on something there. And to me, it tied right into what our dear sister Ava was saying, because all of the circumstances around our birth and the things that shape us, that made us in America, we got to go to war with that. I got to fight that. And it's that enemy in the mirror that I can't see to outlast consistently enough to rise to that much needed level. There's been gains and things like that, but to really outlast that old man, put on a new man, that's a serious fight. Also, I'm thinking of what Sister Ava said, that she closed out where we have to study and obey all that we're given the examples of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I'm tying that into the creative force. And I'm realizing that she's talking about the very creative agency of Master Fard Muhammad that's making all things new. It reminds me of when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that you have to recreate your own essence. You have to become a self-savior. Sit yourself in heaven at once as the supreme wisdom. It just makes me think about the great responsibility that lies on me. And you spoke about this in the beginning, brother, when we were speaking about New Year's resolution and all of these type of things, and how we might, at the first obstacle, give up because we haven't had a well thought out plan. It made me think about how if I become too focused on something external, then that old me, that me that I can't outlast, is getting the better of me. Because when you really focus on what you need to do, the natural opposition that rises up in self when you standing up to do something, you don't have time to be focused on naysayers and all this stuff, because it's too hard to deal with the natural impediments that rise when I set any worthy goal. So sometimes I can allow external things to become an excuse of why I chose not to box with that me, with that shadow box that me. So those were some of the takeaways I got out of it. And I hear some more, I might have another point. Thank you.
Wow. Now, man, look at this. I'm looking at I'm looking at the messages right with my biological brother. I feel bad. Look at this, man. He said he called. I didn't answer. What's up, little brother? Call me back when you can. Call me again. Call me again. Just checking in with you. I met some people you know at my job. Man, this is crazy, man. Somebody got to come fix me. But he must have told me this on the phone. I was looking for the message when he said that, but he must have told me this on the phone about how they used to pray or something like that, because I don't see it. But when I first met him, look, this is the message. I almost didn't respond to him. I said, peace, I think you're my older brother. This is 2019. I said, peace, I think you're my older brother. He says, duh, you're right. What up, bro? Laugh out loud. I damn near said, duh. Man, get off my... But I was like, okay, maybe that's his personality or something. But how you, man, this your little brother you ain't never seen. You ain't never seen me before. I'm the long lost child. And you just say, duh, you're right. You're like, what? Ooh, boy. Y'all think I'm playing, don't you? That's what he said for real. He said, duh, you're right. What up, bro? like we just grew up. What up, bro? Like we ain't never met, shook hands. Ooh, boy, that's crazy. All right, let's go to Brother Charles.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Ben.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah, I got two topics. I'm gonna be real short though. As far as the birth thing, as she spoke on Sister Ava spoke on the birth. I think was it Student Minister Ishmael or Student Minister Jeffrey? They kind of spoke on that a couple months ago about making a god or whatever or whatnot. But as me, I'm kind of like you. I'm like, well, I'm an introverted person too. So growing up, a lot of people used to be like, oh well, you antisocial or this or that, or I always keep a few little selective friends. I never really had a big circle. So when I heard this months ago from them, I'm like, okay, let me look into this a little bit deeper. Kind of find out, but it was in my face my whole life. I just never really looked at it. Kind of find out I got a double dose from both ends because my mother and my father was introverts. So that's they got me right with that. I'm like, okay, I'm both of them at the same time. So now I feel a little better about myself because sometimes I used to feel bad after a while. Because first I used to just laugh at them. People like, you're antisocial. And then it started getting to me. Like, okay. But now I feel a little better about it because I can understand where everything come from. And the other subject I had a take on is when Sister Ava went back and said the younger generation doesn't have a slave mentality. And that's basically, she made this back then, so she kind of speaking towards people that probably was like in the 80s on up. I was born in the 80s. And man, I work, but I don't got that slave mentality. I never did. I mean, I'm gonna come and do my job, or I'm not finna walk around on eggshells or be trying to please nobody or trying to do 2 or 3 different jobs. And then this this generation now, they really don't have the slave mentality. Boy, you better not make them mad. They'll walk right out the door on you the same day. That's what I got, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Yes, sir. That's called having a sibling. Mm-hmm. Let's go to Brother Maximus. Yeah, Brother Charles. They be calling us antisocial, man.
I'm like family.
Like salam.
What stood out from hearing everyone just had a topic, then someone answer it, but unresolved issues that we tend to deal with. It made me think about back in 2008 when I lost my mother. I didn't really have time to grieve, and at the same time, I was getting ready to go to Beijing to the 2008 Olympics, and I stayed busy. And then when I came back from it, that's when I had idle time and everything hit me at once and I went into a depression. And that was part of unresolved issues because I never took time to grieve. And as I listen to the lectures and stuff, a lot of it is self-improvement. And sometimes we don't take that in consideration, how it's important the ministers speak about us working on ourselves, because if we don't work on ourselves, we can't be accessible to anyone else or help anyone else. And we don't want to listen to anything, because when I look back, what helped me get through it is the lectures of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You know, I could go back and think about the fear, faith, truth, or the power of speech, or the mind of God. And we have all the tools, but if our minds are not right, we're not going to be receptive to the teachings and put it into process. So my biggest takeaway is the self-improvement. If I don't work on myself, like I have been doing, my mind, body, and soul. So like when I go to the gym, you know, instead of driving to the gym, I run that 2.5 miles, get my mind right. So when I get to the gym, And then when I'm done working out after that hour, I run that 2.5 miles back, so I could get my mind right for work. I put myself in a routine, because routine is very, very important, because it's about action and consistency. If you can't commit to something as little as taking care of yourself or stuff like that, then it makes it more challenging to commit to other things in life. And that's all I have to say.
Yes, sir. Thank you for sharing. Sister Yasina.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
So, for you,
I knew
you
it.
have siblings, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They come in all different personalities. So yours is a duh, that one there. So, I mean, that was bonding moment. You just didn't know that because you're an introvert. I do that to my siblings all the time. So the thing that Sister Ava said when she reminded us that God thought of us trillions and trillions of years before we were even created. He desired for each of us to be here. So regardless of our circumstances, that alone should make us walk away from this power call today feeling some type of way about ourselves, regardless of the circumstances surrounding our births, regardless to what we may go through on our day-to-day lives. It's a part of the journey. And I really love the path of least resistance. That's the path that we took before we were even implanted in our mother's womb, that we did not resist coming here. And we were willing to go through everything that we went through to be here today. So it doesn't really matter what life brings us, the good or what we consider the good and the not so good. Even the not so good is good for us because it helps us in our evolutionary process. Because the Quran says there's a lesson in everything if men would be mindful. So if there's a lesson in everything, if we would be mindful, then the fact that he chose us, we learn the lessons from our birth if we're able to get that information. I suggest anyone who can get audited, become familiar with Dianetics. If you want to take that journey into learning what happened when your mom was pregnant with you. Mine tried to abort me for 6 months. I'm still here. So, because God has a purpose. You wouldn't be here if there was not a purpose for your life. Start segmenting, intentionally segment your day. If we're segmenting the morning, we're going to run into hiccups, fine. But if we're segmenting the morning, we're segmenting the afternoon, we're segmenting our evening, then we don't have time to think about all the negativity that's going on. And we relish in the goodness of the good things that God is gifting us with throughout our day, throughout our life. So if there's one thing out of 9 things during a day that we can be grateful for, focus on the one thing. Because that other thing that we want and the other things that we're upset about, we're not getting. If we focus on the one thing that is good, then the universe has no choice but to grant us the things that we are asking for in Allah's name. Assalamu alaikum.
Praise be to Allah. Walaikum salam. Who is next? Sister Shireen. Got that good counseling from Sister Yasina.
Assalamu alaikum. With you, brother, I had pressed 1 to say something about myself, but really now is to say something about what you're experiencing. You're looking on the outside for the answers. You got to go in. I remember when I was younger, they used to always tell me, go within and look into yourself. And I didn't know what the heck that meant. I literally would go stand in front of the mirror and look at the mirror trying to find the answers because I felt so tormented and disjointed and unwanted because I tell you, my father wanted me aborted. I met him when I was 10. And then he gave me all these stories about my mother, about she was this and she was that, and she was, like putting the blame on her and demeaning her. And so the feelings of rejection that I already had, because I sensed that my brother's father wasn't my father. I found out when I was 10 that my brother's father wasn't my father, but I felt it, you know? And I used to be told, go on the inside, look on the inside. This is when I'm in my 20s. But it's a process, brother. Everything is not going to abracadabra itself to you. You're not going to have a complete release. You're going to have one release at a time because you have years of pain and years of questions. And some of these questions are leading you to other things that you have to do. So don't look at the feeling that you have as this burden that you got to lug around with you. Look at it as the unique set of tools that Allah gave you to build the hereafter. All of us are part of building the hereafter. And we can't build it with cotton balls and sugar plums and, all this gumdrops and stuff. We need the pain. We need the discomfort. We need the feeling of rejection and I'm not good enough and I'm ugly or I'm fat or I'm short or whatever our unique trauma, drama, mess up is. When I say mess up, I mean the things that we did to cause more hurt in our own life. We do things when we don't understand. And we choose people who are not good for us based on our own weakness and susceptibility to whatever we need at that time, whatever we think we need at that time. When we come out of it, we're like, what the hell? What did I do that for? But Allah uses everything. It's like gumbo, everything is in the pot. And some people like it like this, some people like it like that. And you good, bro. You good. I know it don't always feel like you're whole, but that's coming. But this process of you finding yourself is part of you finding yourself. You know what I'm saying? So stop saying there's something wrong with me and stop thinking it because you're actualizing it once you say it. You on the road to being one of the baddest Black men that we have out here. And all of our brothers got the same potential. We just got to allow ourselves to feel. And do you cry? Do you ever cry? Or do you hold it in?
I used to say that I don't have tear ducts because it was hard for me to. I be wanting to cry, but then it don't be coming out. When my mom passed, I cried. I cried probably more than I have my whole life.
Yeah, you got to start crying, brother, because you're holding on to charges. Crying releases things from us. Literally, it releases, I think it's called dendrites or something like that. But there's a biological and a chemical reaction that happens when we cry in a healthy way, not the, crying for everything thing that some people do for, for whatever. But You get what I'm saying? You've been programmed to not feel because you had this experience, and you always felt like probably you had to be grateful because somebody took you in, and I'm sure somebody has said things like that to you. You need to be thankful. You need to be thankful because somebody's taking care of you. And that's true, but that still puts a little knife in it. You know what I mean? So you got to start crying. When you feel it coming, allow it. Do not suppress it because you feel better after it's all, when you get it out. And now that you know this, when you got sons, when they crying, don't tell them man up. Get them their little 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then, all right, now what we going to do about whatever it is they're crying about. But don't make them hold that in. Okay, I'm done. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for sharing. Y'all done made me think about especially Sister Yasina when she said, "But you're here." My first time really consciously at this age watching Color Purple. My wife had me watch it the other day because we went to go see the new Color Purple. It's really good, by the way. Y'all should go check it out. But the ending part when she said, "I may be ugly, I may be this, but I'm here." I'm here, baby. I'm free. I'm here. And then she riding. Woo, we here, boy. Boy, we done been through some stuff, boy, but we are here. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to Brother Daniel 6X.
Yes, great brother. I'm gonna have to visually line up with our sisters. I didn't know what to say. I just asked the Septuagint Spirit what would be appropriate because I didn't want to speak for myself. And just a few scriptures popped in my mind, and the two examples. I'll prefix by saying, Sister Ava said that our lives is written well in advance, and that the circumstances of our lives is not coincidental; it's mathematical. So I'm thinking of the four Jesuses by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he said five. He said the first Jesus is Prophet Jesus. Then he said Allah in person, Master Muhammad. Then Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Then he said you all, the body of Christ. Then he said me. So we are a type of Jesus. And now the two that's in front of us being our example, great brother, I've never seen any man of God or woman that didn't have extenuating domestic situations. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's brother rose against him and became an arch enemy. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan suffered. His own brother, I don't know when he passed, what state of mind he was in, but I know he heard he was telling the believers, y'all giving all y'all money to Farrakhan, his own brother. Of course, we know his mother had extenuating circumstances until she was instructed by an angel, no, keep that child. But he was born under extenuating circumstances. We know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's first family wasn't his helpers. So, and then Prophet Muhammad, his greatest enemies were his own family, the Quraysh. This is not saying that your family is your enemy. But Jesus said when he was in teaching, and his mother came knocking on the door, he said, no. My family is in the house with me. These examples tell me, brother, and the minister said it, look, God is raising a family of the spirit, not of the blood. It's not interested in blood relations like that because it's a spirit family that he's raising. So it seems to me that the extraordinary circumstances of servants of God domestically paved the way for those divine gifts to come out and be used. Now, I'm gonna be honest, brother. I had no idea that you was an introvert. You're very the way you express the teachings and your personality with the principles you lay out, I would have never known. So it seems to me that there's a great compensation for the social aspect when it comes to the divine work that you're doing. So the minister said, in our weaknesses is our strengths. So that doesn't mean that we can't improve on those things that we might feel we need to improve on to have a better sense of self. But also, it does mean that those circumstances play a role in the divine world that we plan. we acting out for God? And I'll close with this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't have a great speech pattern, nor did Moses. Same. But God told him, who made your mouth? Meaning the way you speak is exactly what I need to deliver the revelation that I'm giving to you. I give you a spokesman that can break it down like that. But here's what you do, laying that foundation. So those impediments and those shortcomings become our strengths for the work of God.
Ooh. See? That's why you got to come on to the power call. Could it be that he had me antisocial? Not really being a social person so that I can do what we doing online. I probably wouldn't even be doing what I was doing online if I was real what you call it? Extroverting in person. I'd be outside trying to engage outside. But man, we can reach thousands with the internet. Whew. Let me read this. This is what I wanted to say a while ago. This is the part, man, Sister Ava, I'm talking about, she brought this one home. She says, God knew you first. In the womb, he already knew you before you was born. You're not a result of their planning. Oh, look at this. You are a result of his planning. And then she said this, key words. He is the only mind that counts. The only mind that counts is God. So I wouldn't give a skip, as I heard men say that before. I wouldn't give a skip if y'all planned me or not. He planned it, and it was his will for it to come into existence. And he's the only mind that counts. And in fact, Allah is the only reality. And I like to take that principle in other aspects of our lives. There are going to be some people that don't plan, that don't put you in the plan. They don't think of you a certain way, right? They don't view you how you are supposed to properly be viewed, of value, of worth. But it says that in the Quran, we should have what? Allah's coloring, meaning we should have his view on things. And in fact, the minister says in the article that how your mood can affect perception, that if we're not looking at things from his coloring or his perception, we're not even viewing reality right. He said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad received a letter the night before, I believe, from his nephew, and he saw it in a negative way when he read it the night before because of the work that he had to do. But then he read it again and he saw it in a different way. So when we go out in our lives, brothers and sisters, when we're going out, don't worry about what this person thinks about you and what this person may think about you if it's false. Now, if it's true, you take that criticism and we use it as, or BS, and we use it as fertilizer to grow ourselves. So we listen to the critics. Not that what they are defining us as and making a judgment on us as that's who we are, but we take it and okay, if there's a little truth in that, I'm kind of like that. Let me take it and improve myself. But really, man, our real judge and who we should be worried about. And we should judge ourselves by how he sees us is Allah. How does he see us? Well, in our lessons, it talks about Muslims, right? And then the minister say about if we're all Muslims. Then he say, I beg your pardon. So if he came, the God, Allah in the person, if he came and he knows who we are by nature, well, we're not talking about the circumstances. Being born in prison. We're not talking about the circumstances wanting to get aborted. We're not talking about the circumstances went through abuse. We talking about who we are by nature. So if we listen to who he is and who he's teaching who we are, which is really a reflection of him when we in our natural self, we really are God's. We really are, as E.T. said, we made fearfully and faithfully and some whatever he said. We made really or we who we are by nature Our gods, who we are by nature, is a righteous Muslim. And what's a Muslim? One who submits their will to do the will of God. And if I'm submitting my will to do the will of God, what I'm saying and what I'm doing, really, I'm just the executioner of God's will. That's what it means by Jesus being on the right hand, on the right side. Don't mean that there's some big old chair up there in the sky. I used to think that there's a big old chair in the sky and Jesus is literally on his right. No, the minister said that means he is the executioner of God's will. So, man, that was deep what Sister Ava said, man, that God knew you first. It was his planning. This is a result of his planning. And then the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, if God is the center of everything, if he is the center of everything, he is aware of everything that's going on. And this is only going to bring about the fruition of his will. As I just said before, in the study guides, it clearly states that when Allah has a will, he don't just say abracadabra. He's willing things into existence, pulling on these and using these forces, and he considers the move in the thinking of Satan when he comes up with his will, so that when whatever happens, it's all going to bring about the fruition of our will. So all of our so-called bad circumstances that we have in the past is leading us to become who we are today. Maybe I didn't have no biological father so that I can hear my father in spirit. So that when I hear him speak, I say, man, I don't give a damn what none of y'all saying on this here YouTube. I don't care what y'all saying on this face. Man, I'm hearing something. No, that's the spiritual father right there. Maybe that's what happened in my life. Maybe that's why I didn't have all the minister this, the minister. I seen all the YouTube videos just like everybody else. I ain't give a damn. Because I probably see, because when it's your father, you know your father got a pass. You know your sister. You know your mom. They gonna say something, but people be high side. You say, but that's still my mama though. That's still my sister. So that connection that I had possibly was because of the upbringing and what we all experienced. Sorry, I'm gonna leave you as I came with the greeting words of peace. Nah, okay. Let's go. Let's go into the next. Done got me fired up. All right, let's go to who next? He ties the Quran, supreme wisdom, and Dianetics. Yeah, that's what Brother Martin said. I don't know if y'all be sending me private messages on purpose, but I think y'all should let everybody know. Brother Timothy is up next. Maybe it'd be on accident. Sometimes that happen on accident.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Walaikum salam.
Whenever I hear something deep from one of the brothers or sisters, or when I hear one of the student ministers, whether it's a woman or a male, I try to really directly apply it to how I be feeling and what I could do in my life. But based off you and what I've been hearing, like how your past lifestyle was, not past, how your current lifestyle is, because your past lifestyle is your lifestyle. But Tupac was formed in the womb of in his mama womb, and she was in prison. And look how he came out. He came out revolutionary. He came out strong. Was an introvert as well.
Wow.
But outspoken as well. Pac is just like that. Pac have his ways where some days he don't want to be bothered. And then some days he's just out loud and proud about it. Accepting it as well, too. Accepting it. So what I've been noticing over my time is just you got to learn how to accept things for what it is and not what you want it to be. Because when you accept what it is, then you can be who you actually are meant to be. That's how I see things. So you just got off that topic saying that, because I was going to speak on that. Maybe everything you went through is what led to you to be where you are right now. Maybe giving up basketball allowed other people to gain other things. You gave up one thing, which is a love and passion, to open up the eyes of, let's just say, millions, thousands, hundreds. That's how I look at things. And all that came from when Sister Ava, she did say no one can live your life for you are the only one who has that key to yourself. I'm paraphrasing. And that was important to me because it's like, bro, I used to look at outside people to help me with what's going on within me, and they don't even know me. That's why I never went to therapy, counseling. I didn't believe in that. Because I'm like, why would I just listen to somebody sit me down and say, well, how do you feel about that? And how did that make you feel? Like, I'm angry. What you mean? What did it make? How did it make me feel? I'm upset. That's what I'm sitting there talking to you about. But no, I had to really look within myself and see, okay, you upset. Why you upset? Who made you upset? Where did it stem from? And what we taught in the Nation of Islam is that, you know, we call fruits of Islam. You could witness what a tree really is by the fruit that it bears. So don't look at your past or your mom and even me. I looked at my mom and dad. I'm in Belize right now. I sent you a little message, and I met one of the Israelites brothers, but that's another conversation. But I'm out here in Belize, and I used to get on my mom and dad head. Y'all couldn't do more in California. Y'all couldn't do this, X, Y, Z. But now that I'm out here, I ain't came out here since I was 6. I'm 28 now. So at 6 years old, I couldn't grasp what this is. All I wanted to do was go back home. But now that I'm 28, I'm like, man, y'all still got clotheslines. I'm looking at it right now, from one side of the room to the next. Where's the dryer? It's a different level of appreciation. They made it in California. They got a washer and dryer. if you are getting what I'm getting at. I'm looking at a clothesline from one side of the room to the next. I go outside. It's not nothing like LA. This is a third world country. I'm looking around right now, but it's a different level of acceptance for me. So now I can accept what the past is. I don't look at it in a negative light anymore. I say, you know what? Okay, I understand. And I'm gonna close on these last 2 points. Brother Daniel also spoke on our weaknesses is our strength. What if what we assume our weaknesses is the strength? What if it's not nothing weak at all? So I just feel like our perception need to be just screwed in a little bit more because it's a little loose. Our perception, the way we think and see things, the way we automatically react to things. I thought I was an introvert too. I thought I couldn't speak, bro. When I got on the power call, I wrote a long thing I'll never forget. I wrote it on and I spoke for the first time. I think it was either October or September 18th, one of the two. And I was trying to prepare myself for it, getting written it all the way down perfectly. Now I don't even got no notes. I'm just going straight off with it because it's from within. I had to find that within, that something was within you that could come out, which is more natural. And Sister Shireen said you have to look within to get that help, not so much from the outside. So that sums up everything that my points that I was getting at. So, you know, I enjoy the power call like always. We grow to get new understandings of ourselves based off the teachings, based off listening to our brothers and sisters. And sometimes I could listen to a homeless man on the street and he'll tell me some of the wisest things that I needed to hear. Homeless with nothing. You know, you need money like you need oxygen. This man is living in where he live with no money, screaming praise be to Allah. Thank you, God, and could tell you some wise words. So I just want to say that, and love everybody. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Let me see who's next. Brother Tony. All right, let's go to Brother David 3X.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum salam.
Say, I just wanted to touch on the idea of well, there's a brother, my squad leader. His name is Brother Shinobi Muhammad, and we were talking and had realized that we share a lot of the same sort of situations in our life, right? And it's you know, I've reached out to you a few times, and I'll be like, look, brother, like we on the same wavelength or something. Like you'll be talking about something that I had either been thinking about or been posting about or whatever the case is. But with talking with my squad leader, we had this idea that he had a similar situation in that he didn't know his father, right? and I didn't know my father, right? But we found out after meeting our father, meeting the family, that our fathers themselves had either came through the nation like my father did, or his father who actually came through the nation and stayed. And I say that because I told him, you spoke on this before, as far as you felt that perhaps your father was studying the teaching. And we were talking about that, and we was like, man, I wonder how many brothers exist in the nation that have this similar upbringing. You didn't know your father, but you find out later that he was either in the nation, had came through the nation, came through the ranks, or what have you. And I think that's a very interesting thing. And the reason why I wanted to speak on that is because in the ancient mythos, Dr. Student Minister Weston Muhammad said that Islam is Ma'at, right? There's another brother who came through the nation, Dr. Naim Akbar, who did this whole thing about how the story of Osiris, Isis, and Haru is like a prophecy of us today, right? The fatherless who become saviors, right? And we're told that we're being made into saviors. We go through this class from a God to become saviors to our people. But that notion goes back to antiquity, in that the savior was born to a mother, but he didn't know his father, or his father was dead. In my case, I was told my father was dead. So when I met him at 23, it kind of blew my mind that I had to rewire my mind into this idea that my father's alive when I had already reconciled that he was dead. And so, and then it led me here. It led me to the nation. So we were kind of wanting to, see if there's other brothers in the nation who have these similar stories where they find out that, hey, their fathers, even though they didn't know them, that came through the ranks and were studying the teachings, and perhaps that is something. Maybe there's some prophecy about that, especially since the idea of saviors being born to women and not knowing their fathers, or their fathers being dead. That is a very old mythos. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you for your time, and Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Sister Ina.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Praise be to Allah. Yes. Oh, I wanted to go back to the crying thing. Me too. I'm not a crier. I'm like trying to cry, and in the middle of getting to the tear, I'll be like, what am I doing? But lately, Allah has been showing me, the awesomeness of himself, like almost in real time. And, so I say this, like I found it best in the shower where the water is going as well. And you start thinking about Allah, and you can't tell whether you crying in all the water. And then you can still maintain yourself when you come out. You be like, all right, who needs a slap? You don't feel, pretty weak. You understand what I'm saying? That's all I had to say.
Good to see you back.
Hey, that's right.
Yes, ma'am. Brother Tony. Let's try Brother Tony again.
Can you hear me about that?
We can hear you.
All praise be to Allah. First of all, I want to let you know this is a good topic. Second of all, I'm going to deal with a couple of things, but I'm trying to wrap it up real fast. The introvert. The Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that we are so-called Negroes. So I'm going to call you and my other brother a so-called introvert. You are what you think. You follow me? The question is asked, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the most important question you can ask is why. In our lesson, we have why. Right? Why? Because the devil says on the fifth part of the planet Earth. So if you being a God and going into being a God, and my other brother's a God going into being a God, and you calling yourself an introvert, was God an introvert? I didn't know what an introvert was until I started talking to you. See? And then as I was thinking about it, God showed me, how can brother be an introvert and he's reaching thousands and millions of people and got so many followers? You follow me? So this is the evidence and the proof that I'm going to use that you're not an introvert, but you are able to distinguish truth from falsehood. That's what Farrakhan means. So you keep yourself away from those who are not right because your spirit, your mind, your soul can sense, oh, no, that ain't no good person. That's the way I view you. All praises be to Allah. And overall, dealing with going back into the womb in the study guide in 1987, building the wheel. If we go back into the womb, the study guide in 1987, building the wheel, the Dianetics, you hit it right on point. You got to get to the root of it. And I'm going to close on this. My mother was born August the 5th, 1947. My name is Tony Augustus, so-called Williams. I hate the name Augustus because I thought it was a Caucasian name. Once I found out and did my research in some books from Dr. Wesley and my other brother, Dr. Wrigley, I found out that when Dr. Wrigley came back into the Nation of Islam and watched the minister, he said I had to go get some fruit, so I had to go on the trip to Egypt. When I went on the trip to Egypt, I found the name Shabazz. And it was in the pyramids, and it's called Cheops, C-H-E-O-P-S. Likewise, and so it is. I say, why did my mother name me Augustus? But she's passed me, Allah be pleased with, and I wasn't able to ask her. I found out that Augustus is equivalent to Cheops, and Cheops is equivalent to Shabazz. Right? She was born August the 5th, 1947. 47 sure in the Holy Quran is what? Muhammad. Right? Also, 19 is the signature of Allah God. This is a lot of good right here. I greet you in every word. We spoke about the rights. Assalamu alaikum, and I'm not set you free. And as a man thinking so easy. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. All right, family, we have to go ahead and close out. I have a meeting I have to get to, but thank all of you all for sharing. Thank all of you all for your encouraging words, and we will see you guys, inshallah, in the morning. In the morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. Make sure that you invite your friends and your family. Assalamu alaikum, family, and have a blacktastic and amazing day.
Walaikum salam, bro.
Is Brother Ben here? Brother Ben. Now, Ben got a heck of a program. A lot of people listening to Brother Ben. And Ben tells them about the minister. And Ben tells them about the minister.